So hey everyone, welcome to another video on Next.js. So in the previous video we were just talking about some theoretical concepts about Next.js, what is the difference between server-side rendering and client-side rendering, and in this video we are going to practically observe all these steps in action. Okay, so for that let me just create a Next.js app, just like how you would create a new React app, like create React app, or if you're building Vite or something like that. So we are just going to follow the same process and I will just show you them step by step. So let me go to the desktop and create a new folder over there called anything, okay, of your project name. Okay, so I'll just create one. So that is going to be use notes. Okay, so this is a notes app that we will be building for the rest of this course. Okay, so I'll also be explaining you each and every feature what we are doing in this course, in this project I mean. So use notes next, like this, and of course you can call this whatever you want, and I'm just going to open this within my Visual Studio Code. So I'm just going to drag and drop in there, so you can close this older one, and here you see we can just get started with our project. We can open the command line and we can run the following command. Okay, so over here I'm gonna type in the command in npx create next app. Okay, and like this will go ahead and create a next app within your present working directory, and if I put a dot over there, it will instead of creating another folder and installing the dependencies there, I'm just going to do it in the same folder. So if I hit enter, it is going to ask me a few questions like what is the programming language you're going to use, and like what are all the libraries that you want it to be pre-installed like once you create a next app. Okay, so I'm just going to press Y. Okay, so now it is going to ask me, would you like to use TypeScript? So in this course we will be using TypeScript. Don't worry if you don't know, if you're a beginner to TypeScript, I will also be teaching TypeScript along the way, like just like defining some types to our variables and then moving along from there. So you'll also get to learn like about TypeScript a little bit from this course. So I'm just going to click yes, because the most recommended way right now, like any next app which you're building. So I'm just going to click on yes. So for ESLint I actually usually don't prefer, and I'm going to of course use Tailwind CSS just for a little bit of styling, and I'm gonna say yes for the source directory, and of course this is the most recommended thing which you're gonna use, that is the app router. There's also a pages router which is like the older way of managing your file system. So app router is the most recommended one, so you can just click on yes. And if you want to, like, there is something called as the import alias, where if you're like deeply somewhere within a folder, you don't have to like navigate like going back to the root one and then traversing across the file which you have. So you can just use the absolute path from this import alias, that is writing @ and then providing your path to your file name. Okay, so for this I'm just going to say yes, and I don't want to customize that, so I'm just going to stick with the default. So it is going to right now install all the dependencies for our project, so let's wait for it. Okay, so now all of our dependencies have been installed. So if we go to the package.json file, you see a few things from here. Let me just zoom in a little. Okay, so we have some few packages pre-installed, that is React itself and then the Next.js app. Okay, so there's also a customized way of creating a next app instead of creating a boilerplate like this. So I'm just not going deep into that, so you can also explore that if you would like to. Okay, so there's a script to run the development server, that is Next.dev. So I'm just going to run the script and just show you what do we have in our browser with our boilerplate code. So I'm just going to click I'm going to write npm run dev over here and have a look at our server. Okay, so I'm just going to hit command on this, or control click on the localhost thing. So this will open up a new window like this. So this is a boilerplate code for Next.js. As you see, it gives us some information about if you want to like refer the documentation and all that. Okay, so we are just going to get rid of this and we are just going to start with a simple hello world app, and I'm gonna get started from there itself. All right, so let's go back, and so now if we move to the source directory, we see some files already present over there, like this page.tsx. Okay, so I'll be explaining you the file structure, how it is used in Next.js. Okay, so this page.tsx is the actual file that will be run whichever the folder you're in. Okay, so since I'm in the base, okay, so this is the app is the main folder, which is a base. Okay, so which whenever you hit on localhost 3000 slash, so this page will be rendered onto the screen. Okay, so I'm just going to clear out all of this and going to start fresh with a hello world app. Okay, so I'm just going to click RFC to create a functional component, and for now I can just call this hello world like this. And after this we are going to also modify this layout.tsx. So what is this layout.tsx? So this is nothing but like a template. Okay, if I go to this layout.tsx and show you, so it has some amount of information like the metadata, where you can actually edit the title of your whole application. I'll also give it a certain description. Okay, and this layout is only limited within this app router. So whatever app directory, okay, so whatever the folders you create after that, which creates a like file structure, like file based routing. So this layout.tsx will be applied for all those pages, since this is in the root. Okay, so if you create a layout.tsx in those files, so that will not appear in the files above that. Okay, so I hope that made sense. We'll come to this a little bit more in the upcoming parts of this course. Okay, so for now you see that it receives children, and this will go ahead and render whatever we have within this body tag. Okay, as I told you, purely based on like server components, and here we are like rendering a HTML tag, and within that within the body we are passing the children. So this children is we are obtaining from this page.tsx, that is hello world. Okay, so if we now go back to our application and see that we have this hello world over here. Okay, and also we need to get rid of all the like the boilerplate css that Next has given us. Okay, so also we have this globals.css, and we, apart from the tailwind directives, we can just get rid of all of these to start fresh. Okay, so we have right now cleared out all of our boilerplate code, and now we can get started with those features that Next.js actually provides us. Okay, so right now everything is server components by default in Next.js, unless we explicitly mention that this component or this page, this file right here, has to be a client component. Okay, so I am not given any like use client directive about to make this a client. So it is understood that this is a server component. So let me just console log something right inside this function, saying that like this. So hello world. So if I save this and have a look at my console, you see that we see the hello world printed on our console instead of our browser's console. Okay, so if I also show you that, so if I inspect this and go to the console, you see that even though if I refresh, I don't see the hello world message. Okay, so which means that this is purely rendered like on the server, and this page is being sent from the server. Okay, and if I just like I don't need this React anyways, so if I use the use client directive like this. Okay, use client, and make this a client component instead of a server component. And now if I just save this file, okay, so now if I just go back to my console, so it says that you see that we get a hello world printed on our console, so from our server. Okay, so this is the main reason why we need to like explicitly mention some components as client components and some components as server. Okay, so the question is, when do we mark them as use client or use server? Okay, so let's say if I just create an event handler, okay, like on click, and it should like call a function. Okay, so if I just do that, so I'll just create a button inside this. Okay, and saying that on click it should log hello world to the console. So Copilot is giving me suggestions like this, so I'll just go for it. So if I just go back, if I remove this use client directive and just go back to my browser, and you see that we get instantly an error, getting an unhandled runtime error, saying that event handlers cannot be passed as client component props. Okay, so which means that we cannot have any kind of JavaScript interactivity. Okay, so within our server components. Okay, so as I told, server components are read only, and they do not they do not vouch for any kind of interactivity within them. So if you want to make this component interactive, what we just need to do is use the use client directive like this. Okay, So we are saying that this component is no more a server component, and it is a client component and should be served not from the server but from the client. Okay, now if I go back to my application and refresh, you see that we do not have any kind of error. Okay, so this content is actually being not served from the server but from the client. Okay, so if I just you see that if I click how many ever times, it is going to log the message to the console. Okay, so this is use the difference between server components and client components, as I also explained you in the previous video theoretically, right? So now I'm back to the previous code with just a hello world printed. Okay, so now if let me just show you a very interesting thing that distinguishes between this Next.js and the traditional React. Okay, so if I just refresh this and go to the network tab, you see that we don't see any kind of JavaScript files that is actually sent from the server. Okay, or the client, if it is a client side component. So you see that from this local host it is just fetching the files from our working directory, and this is the response that we get. Okay, so you see that it makes a get request, and this is the file that is actually being sent. Okay, it is nothing but just a div with hello world. Okay, and these are all the scripts that is usually used by Next.js for live reloading. Okay, so we can just ignore this. So this is purely considered like a server component, and we do not see any kind of JavaScript files that is sent. Okay, so and if I just try to disable JavaScript for this entire website that we are building, so if I just go to settings and go right below this, and there should be an option to disable JavaScript. Okay, so if I check this, so there will be no JavaScript running within our next application. So usually within our traditional React, if we disable JavaScript, it will give us a message that you need to enable JavaScript to run this application, right? So you see that even after checking this, and if I reload, it actually works. Okay, so which proves that this content is actually being fetched from the server and not from the client. Okay, so this is the small thing which I just wanted to tell you. So this is a simple application that I built using Vite. Okay, just for demonstration purposes. Okay, this is not a Next.js application. So this is a completely client side rendered component that is being mounted on the screen. So if I just go to the settings, with settings right here, and go and disable JavaScript right there, and if I now click on refresh, you see that we do not see any kind of content, which means that this is completely pure fetched from the client and not from the server. Okay, so if I just go back and see the console, so you see that there should be some message over here saying that this should be completely, this is, you need to enable JavaScript or something like that. Maybe that message used to come in create React app and not on Vite. Okay, so now again if I just go back and enable JavaScript, it actually works. Okay, so there you go. So this is, I hope you understood the differences between them. So the best example to distinguish between server side components and client side components is these two websites. Okay, so I have just opened amazon.in. This is one of the best examples of a purely interactive website. So without any interactivity, this website usually does not work, right? So there are some components over here that need interactivity, like this search component. When we click on search, it has to search, it has to fetch all the components with that keyword, and all of that needs JavaScript to run, right? And there are some components like this. You see that it is just showing some images and this one card. Within this card, right, can create this particular component as a server component and being fetched from the server instead of sending it from the client side, which makes this page very slow. All right, so this is like one of the best examples for where you usually see interactivity. Another website is this Wikipedia, okay, which is nothing but static content and with some hyperlinks where you can just click on this and navigates you to another page. Okay, so there is nothing much interactivity except for few like the search or something like that. Okay, so this is the best example of purely server side fetched components. Okay, so I hope this sums up everything in practice about server components and client components. So in the next video we are just going to get started with our application and create a very first component of our use notes application, and then we are going to explore more and more features of Next.js from there on. Okay, so I'll see you there in the next video.